You know, sometimes there's disappointment. It's a dreaded word that many cineasts fear. After all, when something looks like it should fire on all cylinders, how bad does it feel to just see it crash and burn? But there are two real types of disappointing when it comes to discussing cinema. There's disappointing like, say, Pathfinder or Die Hard 5, where you just feel like, how dare they do this? This is wrong. This is betrayal. Who said yes to this? And they just leave you wondering why they put the filmmaking equivalent of monkeys in charge of these large productions. But then there's the other, slightly less harsh kind. This is the kind of void where films like, say, J. Edgar, What Dreams May Come, and Airplane 2 live. Well acted, well filmed, and they have enough moments, be they dramatic or comic, to keep me as a viewer content for its runtime, but within about, give or take, 10 minutes of leaving the theatre or turning off the TV, most of the movie is fading away from my memory. It's not bad, just kind of pedestrian. Mortdecai, sadly, is another such film. Based on the 1970s caper novels of the same name, the newest film by once prolific Hollywood scribe David Coep follows the titular British cad, a moustached and dim-witted aristocrat and art dealer who is suckered into a world of misdirection and backstabbing when an elusive Goya painting is stolen and has details on it that may be of very great financial benefit to some nefarious individuals out there. Accompanied by his thuggish handyman, Charlie Mortdecai is enlisted by MI5 to recover the painting and goes on a globe-spanning misadventure with many pratfalls and misunderstandings ensuing as he carries about his quest. Now, in its defense, Mortdecai does several things right. Right from the get-go, Coep's experience in the film industry shows as he produces a very slick-looking film with some really good international production values across England, Russia, and America, energetic transitions involving the CGI globe with some really large place names that allow for a few amusing gags, and some fairly well-handled action, including a fun little motorcycle chase through the streets of Moscow, which actually kind of played like a live-action version in miniature of the motorcycle sequence from The Adventures of Tintin. Underscoring it is also a very snazzy and lively score from Jeff Zanelli, the same man behind the terrific remix of the William Tell Overture from The Lone Ranger. His music is a nice nod to that very distinctive type of 60s style caper scores, but also serves as comic underscore to accentuate the odd gag, mainly during Mortdecai's bungling during fight scenes. And it often adds a little more liveliness to the proceedings than they would otherwise have. And frankly, did you expect any less from such a capable cast? Depp is channeling a lot of classic British cads here, specifically the king of all of them, the late great Terry Thomas. The moustache, the teeth, even his speaking manner, all perfectly captured from Thomas, and Depp is having a real ball with it. The man has been known to have a great respect for many classic comedians, and that once again shows here. The supremely underrated Paul Bettany also shows off his rare comic chops here as John, often being the butt of Mortdecai's misfires, and he and Depp have a nice back and forth that gives you a sense of a bond without distracting too much from the laughs that these two generate. McGregor and Paltrow are more in the way of straight men to the antics of our main duo, as the Inspector and Mordecai's wife respectively, though their own little side shenanigan involving an affair, mainly at McGregor's expense, does get a giggle or two out. However, those last few words more than perfectly summarize whatever else I could really say about the film. Its big slapstick, miscommunication gags and pratfalls, and the apparent lack of major injury to most characters during said bits further cements a very cartoon-like physic to the film. It's not poorly done necessarily, but if you've ever watched any bit of animation anywhere, you'll know all of the beats, you'll know who gets hit, when and with what, and whose pants are going to fall down. The kinds of films that this is clearly wanting to follow in the footsteps of, by contrast, relied mainly on a lot of wit and back and forth between characters. The dialogue was very energized, very rapid-fire, and very sharp, with the physical aspect being a rare thing, which is not the case at all with Mortdecai. In fact, it seems to be a complete 180. Physical comedy is a classic form, but its most loved examples are again usually in shorter forms. When stretched to fill a near 2-hour film, it will inevitably get tiring. I mean, just look at 90s John Hughes if you want an example. And the wordplay just isn't there enough times to back it up. And when it is, it's more worth maybe a small giggle than either being really clever and witty or getting a good hearty laugh out of you. Even using Mortdecai's very old-fashioned aristocratic nature to contrast with the modern world doesn't really yield that much material for Depp to work with, save for some admittedly amusing comments about America during a visit there. Again, not poorly handled, just lacking a real spark to bring it to life. Perhaps Aronson just didn't do a good job translating the novels to screen. Maybe Coep didn't know how to tell these kind of jokes. Maybe it was just a case of the film taking too long to get made and ultimately we've moved past these kind of things. Whatever the reason, it just ends up being a little bit of a letdown. In the end, Mortdecai makes for a decent time waster, with a regular chuckle rate again casting some fun action, but it never feels like it reaches its full potential, and often feels like it's just taking the easy way out whenever it can. Unless you're a fan of the people involved, or are maybe seeking something lighter and breezier in the midst of the usually more dour January fare, hold out till Matthew Vaughan's Kingsman for your modern caper fix.